Irina, it's great to have you here. My name is Gary Fowler, and it's great to have my guests here. This is GSD Presents Silicon Valley AI and Tech. My name is Gary Fowler. I'm a serial entrepreneur and an investor, and it's with great pleasure that I introduce my friend Irina Litchfield. She's crypto superwoman, ARA, you name it, funds. It's amazing. Space fun. It's amazing to have you here today. Thank you for joining my podcast today, Irina.
Such a pleasure to be here. I'm so excited to be speaking with you. We've been spending a lot of time on VCTV together and discussing all these different subjects. And you always leave me inspired. I always feel more like the world is moving into a right direction. And
we're here together. We're here together, inspiring each other, right? Yeah. And our audience inspires us. It's incredible how this movement has taken place. So I got a question for you.
Yes.
You grew up in Stavropol in Russia. What made you decide? What was the move that made you decide to move to the U.S. and how was that?
Yeah, so Stavropol is on the border of, it's a Caucasus, and it's on the border with Armenia, Georgia, Ingushetia, Chechnya, so all the Caucasian countries, but it's a Russian state. And after the change of Soviet Union, when Soviet Union became Russia, we started having a lot of wars around our country, right? And basically what moved me was my mom, because she came home and she said, would you like to go to America? And I said, sure, I would rather go to France, because the perfume and the scarves and the pretty
and the food's really good.
Right. And she said, good, it's unrefundable and you're going for a year, So basically what happened is we had a terrorist attack on the birthing home on Russian property. And it was 2 hours away from our home. And so being a woman in Caucasus during those times, young women, I was 19, was a very dangerous place, just a very dangerous place. And so I think that was the kind of a motivating factor for me to come here. And then once I came here, I understood that it's more than just the jeans and cowboys. And I really saw the true freedom of being respected as a woman, of having independence to be able to go and get a job being a waiter, and pay for your own apartment and make a car payment and have a cell phone and all these kids around me. Well, old teenagers or whatever you call the 19 and 20 and 21-year-olds, young adults. They were so independent. They were just so driven. And there was not this underlying, you're a woman or, we will find you a job. Because in Russia, when back then it was really kind of hierarchy. Now, I come from a comfortable family. My mom was a party member. She was... and then actually she opened her business license number was 10.
Wow.
In Russia. So very, very early, to business and to opportunities and all of that. But it was still kind of I was going to go back home and get a good job that is gotten to me because of whatever, right? I didn't have an idea that I'm going to go and I'm going to do it. And like, I can do all these things myself and, and it's possible. And I don't have to be constantly struggling, right? It's like waiter job. I thought it was the most brilliant thing that you can just go and do it. And then you get in a car and you drive wherever you want. Right? Meanwhile, at home, I still lived with my parents because I was not married and it's Caucasus. And even though I had an apartment that once I get married, I would be allowed to move to, And it's not that my parents were not allowing me. It's just, it just doesn't work that way. My mom's heart would not work if I was not at home and living alone as a woman,
Mhm.
So that's my story.
Wow, that's amazing. And so did you go to college over here, university, or did you go to university in Stavropol?
So I went to university in Stavropol. I graduated pretty early. I kind of went through expedited. I've always gone through expedited things.
Mhm.
The regular standards were really slow for me. So I kind of lost interest, and I could gather the information, very fast when I needed to. But other than that, I've always kind of been in my own world. So I finished university in Russia. I got a degree in psychology, early childhood education, which my mom, being an economist, she really wanted me to be either a doctor or, I don't know, a banker probably or something. Right. So, but I wanted to learn how people work and why they make decisions, especially when it comes to money. Like, why do people do stupid things with money? That makes no sense to me often, right? So I wanted to learn that. So I got a degree there, and then when I came here, the only available program was last minute was in Amarillo, Texas, private Catholic school, I want to say, and I went to the grade that 3 years younger than high school. So whatever that is called, it was like I want to say 14 and 15-year-old kids. I was 19. And so that was my first exposure to education here, because it was through the program. And then when I came back to US, I went to a college for 1 semester. And then I decided that I can just consume my own stuff. I mean, I learned English by just taking books and translating one by one and finding codes and triggers and all that. Yeah. And I completely unpacked from the world, and, the information abundance here was so good, so big. I was shown, like, we had computers, but it wasn't really very available, the internet, what you use it for. And when I learned here, surprisingly, that you can ask any question to Google, to the internet, and it will give you answers, more than one. I mean, that just changed everything for me, right? Because then I just became this consume all the knowledge I can have and really program my brain to English. I really wanted to think in English language, and so that's my education here.
Wow, that's amazing. So now tell me, what's the journey to go from that situation coming over in English to crypto superwoman? So what was that journey like?
Thank you so much. It's a journey, I think, of a naturally born entrepreneur, and probably I would say that my drive to make and optimize things, and kind of feel that I have this responsibility to a world to make things better, maybe, it led me to that. I've always been fascinated with money since I was a little kid, and with the way businesses work and the decision making involved with money and structures and all of the things that have to do with money and finance and everything else with that ecosystem. I was driven to always implement innovation and finance to what I'm doing. And so naturally, after starting my gaming company, entertainment company, to where I build a hybrid model, basically, that in the end of the day was a payments system, localized payment system for playing cards for fun at clubs and bars. So I had a hybrid table, basically.
Oh, that sounds cool. You didn't tell me about that before.
Yeah. Yes, and so we built during Zinger time. Basically, you could come to the table, pay like $20 to $100 to play for fun, because gambling in public places is illegal in Texas, and you have a professional dealer dealing you whatever cards, but then you get points for time and money you spend at the table. And then we had a built-in screen that basically we tracked, we had the keypad sliding. It was really techie, right? Probably too techie for back then, but people loved it. And you would be a player of the month, and everybody would know you. And when you log in, it would show your name. And so it ended up really being all about the payment system, because we build unique hardware and software. Justin, my husband, brilliant technologist and just a scientist. But I've always been fascinating with the payments. And then as the time evolved, I wanted to really do solutions, right, to kind of make a difference. And my aunt died. And, we've been hearing about Bitcoin and, speculation and all of that, and the digital money. And we really kind of looked at it a couple of times, and we didn't participate in it because it really was about speculation, right? And so, but I told Justin, I said, let's send them $500. And so we went to send money, and Western Union was like $120 or something to send them $500. So, naturally I was like, well, that cannot be a reality, and the only options we have. And, I said, let's just do like the Bitcoin thing, isn't it supposed to be super transparent? And it wasn't. It would involve people, many physical people on the chain of transfer, and it was all Scamsville all the way down the pathway. Being a a person who really thinks about kind of security and safety and in finance, in innovation and finance, and what else we can do, I was like, man, we have to build solution, right? Like, that's unacceptable. And so, and especially for ourselves, we need to be able to send Bitcoin and, all over the world, but just ourselves. And so that's how Obsidian Exchange was born. Yes. And so Justin and I, my husband, we co-founded Bitcoin Exchange, and it was great. Too early.
Those things happen. I've been there myself, but it's incredible. We talk sometime on panels about, and some of the concerns about hacking, and, I still am nervous about having too much digital currency, because I'm afraid about, money getting taken. So I know we've talked about it. Sometimes we're on the panels and people take the opposite viewpoint. What do you think? And so one is, do you think that crypto is going to replace fiat currency anytime in the near term? And, what do you think about it?
Thank you for asking that. So I think that you're right to worry, and you're right to be concerned. And it is definitely something that you must think about. Now, of course, if you have your hard key and it's locked away in the safe as your just store of value, if you have in a Swiss bank your private keys, please don't be worried about it. Okay, Gary, you're safe, you're fine, right? So if it's just a long-term investment for you to diversify your portfolio, don't be worried. And you can do the same with all kinds of different keys. It doesn't have to be Bitcoin. However, if your cryptocurrency lives at home, if it lives online, then you really should be very careful and see if there is an expert that can kind of help you to, put this into a safe space. As far as the replacement of fiat, it's interesting to me, because I think that people are often very confused about what the line is there. And the line is this: your cash is the kind of only thing that you can spend untraceably, okay? And so as we move into the digital world, we must keep in mind our freedom. And freedom comes from your ability to go and buy a piece of bread. I'm not talking about sending hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions or billions, right? Like it's, if you're sending large amounts across the border, it's fine to report why you're doing it. It's okay, because bad things happen when it's not answered, right? But if your ability to just spend money to go buy diapers with cash, to be able to buy your medicine, whatever it is that you might want to feel private about, you have cash for that.
Mhm.
With the cryptocurrencies, private cryptocurrencies, you better believe it, they're not going to be legal, right? Maybe within limitations of the small amount, but overall, it's kind of like a rabbit hole that I don't believe that the governments will feel very comfortable allowing, and they will be hunted down. No doubt to me about that. So I think that we have to hold on to legacy as we are digitizing ourselves into the reality, and we want to see this big changes, everything will be crypto. No, okay, because we don't need that, and it will be, absolutely. But we must leave a sense of legacy. We do not need to go in and burn behind us, burn the bridges, burn the things that we know work, for simple reason we don't know what's ahead of us. And when we burn bridges, we know things do not work out very well, and we also often wish that we didn't, right? And so that's kind of I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I'm asking is on one of the panels. I don't think you were on this one, but one of the panelists said he had 1,000 Bitcoins that he had gotten really early on his computer, and his computer gotten stolen.
Yeah.
He had 1,000 Bitcoins, and so those 1,000, I don't know what Bitcoin is today, $20,000 a coin, but whatever it is, I mean, he said he was sick.
And, right. And how do you recover from that? I mean, so being in crypto industry and being a builder, we've never been holders. Bitcoin, when you build, you spend money, and you don't, investment is not something that we've done. Now, for me and for us, we have earned cryptocurrency through work, obviously being in the industry. But also, I wrote an article actually on Coin Rivet about it, is that, for the most part, people in the crypto industry, we have, you put a loan down because in the times of the hard, when the growth cycle is ended and people start giving up and they start calling it, terrible things and all of that, and continuing building in the industry requires funding. Usually those things are exited. And so, for example, loans, right? A lot of people lose money on the loans because when that bottom hits, it's automatic liquidation. And so I know so many friends that have lost money on that, right? And when you loan it, it means that you're already kind of running short on that portfolio, right? So yeah, to me, I think we have to be very careful with crypto, and we have to assume it's easy come, easy go, if you would. You have to have this attitude, and that's a hard attitude when you actually, invest in it, right? And you paid thousands of dollars. Now,
it becomes not so easy sometimes, right?
Right, it becomes not so easy, right? Yeah. Because that's the thing. But you kind of have to think about it again, unless you put it in a hard wallet and put it in a safe. In a traditional systems, we have a very good physical security for our financial instruments, and we execute them very well. I'd love to see more cool innovation, but we are pretty good with the physical security already. And I would say that if you're in a crypto space, do that, put it away and don't keep it on your computer. That's not a good idea. Don't keep your cryptocurrency on the phone. It will, you're just a target. And just because they haven't targeted you yet, it doesn't mean that they're not.
Yeah, be careful what you ask for.
Yep.
I agree with you. And, so one of the things, I use PayPal a lot for sure. And very confident about that. Confident when I use my credit card most of the time. I'd rather use PayPal on my credit card. But It is. It's interesting, and in fact, it's, this COVID situation has changed everything, right? It's dramatically shifted. It's the first time I've ever gone to shops and they say, I don't have change, right? It's kind of interesting that the amount of fiat currency that the stores have, because they want to be more cashless, they want to be using credit cards. So it's interesting, the shift. I have another question for you. ARA. So
Yes.
tell me about ARA, your farm, ARA, the having your speaking sessions on straw, so tell us a little, how'd you come up with that idea, and tell my audience what it's all about?
Yes, absolutely. So ARA is Innovation Summit, and it was we launched with what will be an annual gathering, but really it's a global pre-IPO roadshow. So ARA is the conference that is going to be running for Lumeria. And Lumeria is where capital meets innovation. So we will have a different stages of the companies going around the world. Now, most of them will be through our global partners, people that are locally running conferences. So if it's Singapore, we'll be working with them together. I'm not interested in organizing conferences every 2 weeks all around the world, all year round. Because
so what are you doing? Is it like a road show for startups, or what exactly? What kind of startups would be interested?
So for the most part, it will be for growth stage companies. Mm-hmm. So it's a roadshow for growth stage companies, and valuations of those vary. A small market cap is our target. But I do believe that it is important. So as far as a roadshow, right? But as we are traveling globally, let's say we're in Singapore, we will also feature up and coming. And the reason is because I think that it's so important for us to understand what is coming up. And it's a great opportunity for a smaller stage companies to be among those that are going public. Let's say it's for $40 million or it's for $100 million. Well, really, our goal is to bring small market cap back, to empower small market cap companies globally, right, and pass the opportunities. So it will be kind of a hybrid model, if you would. So we'll take what we do traditionally with with traditional fundraising pre-IPO roadshows, which is more private meetings and private gatherings, to really transitioning that into what we learned during ICO. And to me, the interesting thing for the ICO was the model. It proved the concept that we do not need to dial for dollars anymore, and people are really hungry for investments, and they do their own due diligence and research. We have enough information out there for people to feel comfortable and say, I can make my decision, and they want it. So to me, that's what we've learned. And then obviously the model, the fundraising model, I'm really driven by changing and innovating funding vehicles for all around the world, right? Because we are, let's face it, we are quite outdated, in that. So that's what ARA will be doing as far as an ongoing. And then every year we'll have an innovation summit. An innovation summit is more of a thought leadership and feature, right? So we'll still have some companies presenting, and they really will be our annual feature companies. But for the most part, we'll have a discussions about what innovations are and how do we move forward, and really make sure that we can always have a way to push the boundaries, if you would, right? So learning and having a productivity. So my biggest goal during this gathering was get shit done. I mean, I've said that so many times, Gary, on the stage, and I said it's all you. It's every single time I say that it's you in my head, and the reason is because we've been taken for granted our ability to meet with each other, and too many times we just there schmoozing and whatever and thinking about business and discussing it, but we are not connecting and getting stuff done. And then we have to go back and follow up, and then
well, that's why companies fail, right?
Right, right. And so,
look at it,
yeah,
the difference between success and failure is about this much.
yeah,
And the situation, why is there a difference? Difference is because of people that want to succeed, and sometimes people want to fail, right? Or they've got this Dostoevsky kind of mentality where they don't want to really succeed. They talk, and part of it is, really putting yourself in that position, visualizing, having the right kind of context and connection, and doing the kind of things we started doing on VCTV several months ago. It's good to connect with people. It's amazing who you can meet in these kind of environments. I'm surprised with the amount of inbound interest now just in this show because of going out and providing incredible information to folks. So no, it's I hear it. What do you think? What's going to happen? So we look at Telegram, right? Mm-hmm. Telegram was trying to do an ICO and then kind of faded away. I mean, what's the state right now? Where are ICOs worldwide, and what do you think the future? I mean, is it done? Is it picking up? I mean, where do you think it really is today?
Yeah, well, I think it goes back to kind of, first of all, have they experienced serious problems with SEC? If they have,
not just Telegram, but I mean in general.
Right, and that's actually valid for a lot of them. So, people really don't realize that, but the letters, the scary letters, most of the companies received scary letters, and they had to work through that, and they're still working through those issues. So SEC is slow but methodical. So you always want to make sure of that. But they also, I think, are forgiven too. I do believe that it was an innovation that happened for finance, and you have to kind of you have to learn from that as well. And I do believe that that's one of the reasons why they opened up their alternative trading system allowance and made it to where up to $5 million you can get from unaccredited investors for your primary listing. I mean, that's just sexy. I still can't believe it happened. It's not on the news, but that by itself can change the fabric of the way things are working. Mm-hmm. Democratization of opportunities and investments is here because of that. And kudos to SEC. They did that. They did a really great job, and they do want to innovate. They just can't break things, right? Because our global financial infrastructure is built on that. We don't go breaking things. So anyhow,
at least we don't try sometimes.
Right.
Yeah, these crazy financial crises where derivatives and those kind of things. But you're right, and we come up with innovation, and part of it is getting out there and seeing what's going to happen. I mean, I remember when the ICOs were crazy. You must have been insane with this ICO activity.
Busy, oh my God, busy. Though, in full transparency, being in global capital markets and working through traditional finance and seeing through the things that we're doing, because it's been years in coming, right? Lots of money spent in building innovation for global capital markets. It was very hard to stay away from a lot of them. So I was very active during that time. I was speaking, I was traveling all over the world, mentoring. I've mentored probably hundreds and hundreds. I don't want to say thousands, but I just spent so much time giving to people. And that was my mission. My mission was, that's why I'm crypto superwoman. I told my daughter, there are too many bad guys out there doing uneducated things, and I have to stop them. Like, I have to educate the world. And she said, "Mommy, you're a crypto superwoman."
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, and it carried me through because I was at home, and now I was not at home traveling the world. And it's hard to go on a 10-day trip away from your 5-year-old, right? And it is a big challenge. And it was that crypto superwoman that kept reminding me that, why I'm doing this. And my daughter and the future and the children is a big portion of why I'm doing it, right? So, but I think that we'll see 2.0 ICOs coming back. because some of them have handled things very well, and they actually did a proper treasury management and their proper banking and a proper licensing. And maybe, yes, SEC has sent them the letter, but they're able to work through things. And most importantly, while all that happening, not give up, but continue building the product. And so we'll see so many wonderful post-ICO 2.0 companies coming out with products. And I think that they will give the rise to opportunities for those that are coming up. Will the what I call membership like tokens, which is just a utility token. So will the membership token have such a big traction with people to where they'll just rush and put as much money as possible? No, I don't think so. I think we'll see more realistic valuations and realistic ways to to pre-sell your membership, because that's what ICO, utility token, is just a pre-sale for your membership. It's pretty simple, and it makes perfect application for that. For example, one of the companies that we're looking to be sponsored on for a global listing through Lumeria. They're doing something interesting. They have several layers. Now it's a transformative technology company, but we're utilizing the vehicle to make sure that they can achieve what they need to do. So it's kind of a three-layer vehicle. We're looking at the membership, pre-sale for membership. It's just a perfect application for basically tokenizing licensing. So it's an investment vehicle, and then actually doing the STO. So when the company is ready to go public, which is what we are preparing them for, that will be a cheaper and better transition for them. So I do think we'll see a lot of things like that, kind of a bundled in, a nice little wrap of traditional and crypto, but highly regulated, properly designed. I don't think we'll see any more of that craziness.
The Wild West.
Right. And we lived through it, Gary.
It was amazing times, I got to tell you.
It was good.
We were with Eva, my company, we were thinking about at one point doing an ICO and decided to move in on and just raise the money instead. But so many people around us were raising money. It was unbelievable. 10 million, 12 million, 15 million, 20 million. It was incredible. But so I have a question for, what do you think? So we deal with startups all over the world in these conferences we're going to. So what advice would you give a startup? So there's a startup in Nigeria or in Russia or Ukraine. What advice would you give them? They're trying to come out. They've got incredible technology. They've got some revenue. They're looking at going global. What kind of advice would you give those companies today in this COVID world?
Yeah. Messaging, really tight messaging. You really need to be able to describe in 7 words what your company does, and have 3-sentence explanation of what it is, and then go ahead and in 7 words describe what your vision and mission is, right? Your mission is. And to me, that's important because it really is one of the most challenging things, even for mature companies, to be able to identify. And then really proper flow. I really like to use Sequoia pitch deck template. It's just a template for the flow. And make sure not to skip any slides. And because if you do not have answer to one of the slides or they do not apply to you, that just means that you need to ask for that. So it becomes your ask. And so make sure that you definitely have an ask, and it's a ask that's definitive, right? Take just one ask, So if you still can't raise money because you need partnerships, ask for partnerships. Don't ask for money yet, because you just, make sure you ask for one thing and progress yourself through your asks. I think that's very important. I really like to use American Marketing Association template. You can just Google it, and it's a 90 seconds pitch. And so the reason I like that is because you need to be able to talk through your pitch deck in those 90 seconds. That means that you need to make 2 decks. First deck is simplified, looking pretty, just really that messaging, that just really messaging and emotion, so I can really look through it or hear you through it in 90 seconds and identify what it is. So I can have I just want answers to each of those slides, right? And then deeper explanation, so more due diligence type of a deck that you can follow up with, and schedule that follow-up meeting with an investor. I think those are very, very basic, but they're very important, especially for those that are from abroad, because they already have the limitation with the messaging, right, with the language. And so any extra information, any lack is so magnified. But if you're from foreign country and you have terrible accent and it's hard to understand, but you have a proper flow deck, so it just goes right, and you have proper messaging that is short and definitive and really answers the point of that specific page, right? It opens up to kind of like, okay, you can think in a way I think. You can give me all the tools you think about success and adoption into kind of a funding world. I think that's my biggest advice, and that goes for C and D companies as well, surprisingly.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, keep it crisp. You want to paint pictures with words so people feel the presentation. You want to make sure you've got those 7 words, the wow statement. I had Bill Reichert on the show last week. We were talking about his new book, Getting the Wow. So wow is really important. So I agree with you 100%. And startups out there, this is a great opportunity for you. Investors, don't sit on the sidelines, because if you don't invest now, you may never get that chance. This is a dawn of a new era. AI is the new electricity. It's great. Crypto and crypto superwoman's here if you have questions. Irina, how do they reach you? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
So message me on Twitter or LinkedIn, or just email me, Irina, IRINALITCH @me.com. I am very available and transparent. Probably don't use Telegram because my identity gets stolen all the time in Telegram. And basically my experience with Telegram at this point is friends messaging me and saying that, hey, do you need money? No, I don't need money. Please report that person once again. And by the way, the way they do it is that they just change the letter in, so if you read it, you kind of can't see it, just says @crypto superwoman, but it's not, there's like U instead of O or double O or whatever.
Oh, that's amazing. I didn't know that. Good.
Yeah, because
So be careful on Telegram.
Be very careful. It's the #1 phishing platform for sure.
Interesting.
Yeah, and the newbies all go into Telegram. They think it's safe and secure. And like, for example, I don't have a way to be able to report the person that is impersonating me, right? I don't have a way to, there's not enough support or filtering in there to do that. So to me, that's the platform. And I have so many different groups. We have blocks, right? So my company runs blocks on a Telegram, and it's just became a feeding ground in a way to where it's a really hard place to be at. So I do think that the Telegram needs to do some innovation and management of that, because they do have a great foundation. So, but don't message me on Telegram.
Okay, so LinkedIn, Twitter,
email. Yeah, Google. Just Google me, Irina Litchfield. You'll find all the way, and I respond to all of them. It's just if in a Telegram, it might take me 3 months before I decide to sit down and go through this flow of unbelievableness. Yeah.
All right, super. Well, Irina, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. And my audience, it's great to have you here. We will be back again, same time, same channel, next week, next Tuesday. So great to have you, and have a great day. Stay safe, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Irina. I really appreciate it.